John Buffalo, Adventurers, Mike Dooley. Time for another spiritual tune-up. Thanks for your questions below on Facebook and or Instagram. I consider answering anything under the stars, from metaphysical concepts to help you live better to aliens, Bigfoots, and UFOs. Today's question, what about destiny and fate? Question, if things sometimes don't work out for the better, doesn't it mean that life is somehow predetermined? Surely, if we have a free will, everything would always work out as planned. Not quite. But let me just speak to perhaps a tiny flaw in the question. If things sometimes don't work out, everything always works out. Everything takes you higher into the light. Everything. Everything. Now, that's not the question, and I know what you mean, so I'm going to answer it exactly as you mean it. But so often I hear from people in audiences or online about, like, Mike, what do you do when everything's going great and suddenly something knocks the wind out of you? How do you handle that? It set you back. Do you look for what's wrong with you? Do you just roll with it? The presumption is a bad thing happened. And the more you steep yourself in truth, the more you realize there's no such thing as a bad thing in time and space. Yes, there's ugly, hideous, disgusting, but even those things, seen from a far enough perspective back, set you up for greater adventures, love, confidence, healing, etc. Now, let me get to your question. Doesn't this somehow mean that there's destiny or fate if you're not always getting good stuff? Not at all. What you experience is not a function of free will. It's not like if there's free will, you get all good stuff. Everybody has free will. That's indisputable. Everybody has free will. But that doesn't mean everybody's wanting stuff that's good for them. Most people want stuff they think is good for them. Most people want dozens, if not hundreds of things at exactly the same time. Most people have desires that conflict with themselves. They want to have a lot of friends, but they also want to be quiet and left alone. You know how that is. So when we've got turmoil and chaos here, we have manifestations that ricochet all over creation, none of which implies that anything could happen to anybody. Anything and everything that does happen to you is a product of your thoughts becoming things, either taking you to what you thought of or taking you through territory that will lead to what you thought of. And sometimes it's taking you through territory that will lead to what you thought of, that people are like, well, I didn't think that. Yeah, but you thought of something else just beyond it, and the only way there was to be drawn through unthought of territory. This is my talk last week, Thoughts Become Things. It never fails. You are the end-all, be-all decision maker of everything that happens in your life. If anything was destined or predetermined, you could never say thoughts become things. You could never say, believe and ye shall receive. You could never say what goes around comes around. It would always be predicated on destiny. Thoughts become things unless something's destined. Thoughts become things, you get what you think about, you believe and you shall receive unless there's some fate involved. Do you see how that would throw a wrench into the machinery? Take this all the way. Nothing ever can be predetermined. It would violate, null and void our very reason for being here, which is to adventure and frolic and see what we can make of these jungles of time and space. It's to discover our power. Do you realize if even one moment of your life you had no power because of destiny or fate, which is what that implies, then you have no power ever. Nothing. Can't do it. What if you have a great big dream, but fate's getting in the way? Where's your power? You're not here to be buffeted about by the whims of some predestiny or divine fate, what would be the point? If there was fate, there'd be little to nothing to learn ever. We wanted the full deal, the full Monty, and you can have it. But it comes with a playing course that is wide open. So you don't get good stuff because you have free will. You only get the good stuff that you're talking about because you think of that good stuff, you speak of it, and you physically move towards it. A friend of mine, Sarah Landon, who is really brilliant, you can go to sarahlandon.com. She channels the council. She and the council say, you don't get what you want, you don't get what you need. You get more of what you are. That's deeper than it seems. What you are emanates your thoughts, and your thoughts become the things and events of your life. It's thoughts becoming things is the end all be all. But wherever you are right now in your definition of self, in your definition of reality, in your understanding of the order, the compassion, the love that is everywhere, that's what you're going to get more of. Which is why I always say, the more truth you have, the more you seek truth, the more you wonder about truth, the more you go into deep contemplative thought. How could this be? And why am I here? And where is my power? And what is the reason? You attract truth to you. The more truth, the higher your vibration, the easier the life, the faster the manifestation. Everything comes to you easily. Everything comes to you effortlessly. The more truth, the more power, the more joy, the more love you allow yourself to feel. Love that was there anyway, but blinded by misunderstandings, giving your power away, thinking that some things aren't meant to be, thinking that God decides stuff and not you. One more thought here that's a tangent, and it's one that I've heard many times brought up, and I've used to wonder myself. Surely, in divine mind, God, the universe, has already seen every eventuality play itself out. Therefore, God must know every possibility and how it's all gone. No, that is not the case. In ways that we cannot comprehend with a physical mortal mind, or even a mind beyond that. There are so many literally infinite possibilities that expand literally off of every single new possibility. Every decision you make, and there are thousands in a day, if not more. And then there's 7.5 billion who are making thousands and thousands. Every single teeny decision splinters the world into parallel universes. And for every parallel universe, there is another splinter for every decision in that lifetime of yours and the other 7.5 billion, not to mention the other 72 quadrillion, zillion, billion sentient creatures all in the physical universe. This physical universe, not to mention other physical universes that are also making thousands of decisions every single day, whatever a day looks like to some of those beings. And then there's the beings that don't live in time and space. They live, I don't even know where they live. I can't even comprehend that. But yet I know they're there and they're living and they're growing and they're thriving and they're loving in ways impossible to comprehend. This dance of life is perpetually blossoming in an eternal now. And while there are distinct shifting probabilities and likelihoods, anything's possible, right? Me finishing the next sentence in Swahili is possible. The probability of that happening is like almost zero, but it's not zero. And I could do that for a zillion other things. Me finishing this broadcast, making my points, feeling good about it, loving you in the next 3 or 4 minutes, extremely probable. So you do get people who can tune into probabilities, and those probabilities might be a product of all the decisions by everybody involved. That doesn't mean that there was destiny or fate there either. It's not knowable. That's why we're here. This is the gift that you give divine intelligence, to peer through your eyes and see a world that's never been seen before, and to make decisions that have never been made before, to see what comes of it, to see how high you go into the light, to see how much love you allow yourself to feel, to find out how much love you can give. It's this most amazing, unending, nonstop, eternal now, where everything that happens plays to your greater good. Nothing can take anything away from you. And I'm about to break my 3 to 4 minute probability, so I better sign off right now. Tally-ho, amigos. Thanks for the amazing questions. Instagram, you're winning the question race with amazing questions. Facebook, you've done so well in the past. You can coast a little bit. But ask some great questions down below on the meaning of life, probabilities, you name it. And many of you don't seem to know, I have done 250-something spiritual tune-ups every single weekday for about a year now. And the link below today in the Facebook, under the description of this broadcast, and in my bio, heads up to my amazing team, let's update the link in the bio, will be to the archive of all prior spiritual tune-ups. 5 out of 10 questions that you're asking, I answered recently. Everything's recent. It's all an eternal now, right? So check out the archives. I've talked about everything I can think of. That's why I need your questions for talking points. Check out the archives now. Suicide, what happens when you die, where you go, who you meet, heaven, hell, the devil, reincarnation, ancient civilizations. Have I talked about that yet? That would be a good one for tomorrow. All right, tally ho, amigos. Hasta la pronto. Te amo. Lo hecho de menos.